In the age of social media, all it takes nowadays to spark up an online fight is to merely have an opinion. One opinion will cause many to spiral into a pit hole of anger where no one dialogues, only insults the person who has the unpopular or even the popular opinion regarding the latest trends in comic books, movies, or pulp culture. It makes sense given the circumstance. After all, acting tough behind the protective wall of the black mirror we all own and use on a daily basis makes it easy for anyone to jump right into a tirade of insults and threats. Again, just for having an opinion that they may disagree with. I decided to go against that notion. I've decided to start a video series where we discuss the hot topic issues within the comic book industry and pulp culture and provide you with another perspective. One of logic, reason, with just plain old dialogue between two people who have different opinions. My co-host and I will discuss the pulp culture topics at hand in a fun, engaging, and respectable manner. So, without further ado, let's talk about it. Hello. Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of Let's Talk About It. I'm your host, Julius Freeman, and with me, as always, is
Kyle.
Oh, I hope you guys had a good week. I hope you guys bought comics. I hope you guys read great comics because, hey, let's face it, comic books are a good thing. We love them. We love to read them. We love talking about them. So, with that said, Kyle, what'd you pick up this week, man? Anything new or interesting?
Didn't pick up a whole lot of stuff, but I did pick up one really, really cool thing. Technically, it was from Dallas Fan Expo. I had put in a commission for an artist to do a sketch cover, like I always do.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he couldn't get it in time of the convention, so he took a little bit longer to do it, and then he'd ship it to me, and it finally came in the mail. And man, I'm, glad he took his time because the amount of detail in this piece is phenomenal. Basically, I had asked him to combine some of, my favorite characters, that being of Venom and General Grievous from Star Wars.
Interesting. Okay.
And I can't believe what he did. It is so amazing. Here it is. Venom.
Look at that. Wow.
Taking over General Grievous.
That's wow. You know what? I guess it was worth the wait.
Look at the detail.
Yeah.
That is
wow. That's cool.
In this piece.
That's cool. See, the great thing about cons, right, is that you could go to an artist, and if you pay their fee, you could pretty much request whatever, and this is the outcome of it. And look at that, man. Beautiful. Wow. How long did it take for him again after you requested?
So this was a couple weeks.
A couple weeks. Okay. Well, yeah. Definitely worth it.
So it was technically it was like 2.5 weeks, but he didn't start working on it until like a week after because he got sick and then he was traveling. So
okay.
It was about like a week and a half or so that he was working on it.
Nice. Awesome, dude. Heck yeah.
So yeah, this is definitely something that was worth the wait and gonna find a special place.
I bet you will.
A fine addition to my collection, to say the least.
Any other pickups or no?
That was pretty much it. Like I said, didn't really get a whole bunch of stuff. I guess I can say this. I picked up this Action Comics number 1087, which is the Dan Jurgens.
Oh, very cover. Nice. Yeah, that's the movie cover.
The movie cover, and Dan Jurgens just so happens is going to be at San Diego Comic-Con, which I will be in attendance in. So I'm going to get him to sign this book.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
And probably a couple other ones like Death of Superman and possibly even get him to do a sketch.
Ooh, well, Hopefully he doesn't charge too much.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's all depending upon everything else.
So, the news lately with Diamond Distribution, it's been kind of bad, but we could talk about more in detail later. And also another crowdfunding tragedy occurred where another comic book creator pretty much told his backers that the book ain't going to be delivered. And at least this one, as opposed to the one that we spoke about the last time, at least he had a live stream and he faced his backers and, had to explain it. And so kudos to him on that. But that's another one that's kind of like, woo, man, crowdfunding is kind of taking a big hit in the indie comic sphere. However, our guest today, he is the CEO of a company called Cosby Media Productions, and he does indie publishing. And I was looking at his website earlier, and I was really impressed at the presentation. That's number one, and two, the fact that it gave me a lot of hope for indie comics, because we forget, a lot of us think that crowdfunding is the be all end all, but in reality it's not. It's a stepping stone. And after looking at Mr. Cosby's website, it really made me see, like, yeah, there's other avenues you could take after the crowdfunding. So please welcome to the show Braxton Cosby. Braxton, welcome to the show.
Hey guys, thank you for having me on tonight. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Right. Nice seeing you.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Well, first of all, let me ask you, this is what I ask every guest who comes on the show. What was it that prompted you to want to pick up comic books? Was it something that you found your first shop? Was it something that maybe your parents introduced you to, or a friend? Give us that origin story of how you got into writing and also comic books.
Yeah, I got into comics honestly through the year that I was in. We did there was a show called the Sunday Funnies, and they used to actually feature comic books, or at least like comic panels from like a Sunday Funnies. Like it basically was like a panel section from the Sunday newspaper, Oh, okay. And so they used to have like feature like Thor, like a lot of Marvel stuff was real big back then. Spider-Man and stuff like that. And so they would give you these still shots and then kind of talk about, the comic book and what the story was about that week. So I was like, oh, I was really intrigued with it, And then later on, as TV came around, I was introduced to the Justice League and shows like that, and the Amazing Spider-Man. And even the Electric Company had Spider-Man on it every now and then, would feature him. So I was looking at the episodes just to see if Spider-Man was coming out,
Cool. Yeah.
So I was excited just, with this whole thing about what was comics about. And as a kid, I remember taking like a bus down to downtown Miami and picking up the Avengers, and they talked about Secret Wars and things like that. So I was like really intrigued by like what was this whole world and this universe that Marvel was building, what was DC building, with a lot of the the dark stories that were told through the event through like Justice League and Dark. What was the guy's name?
Darkseid?
Darkseid, absolutely. Yeah. So those things were like really intriguing to me. So I was like, man, this is like really, really cool. And I remember a friend of mine started like, I was in the Dungeons and Dragons back in the day, back in the elementary school. And he was actually writing his own comic book with like Dungeons and Dragons, And I was like, man, like I want to make my own superhero series. I was a real, real huge X-Men fan. And I still have those comics today with X-Men. The whole Genosha series where they lost their powers. They put like the couplings around their necks,
right?
Like Wolverine and Rogue, and those like the best stories. Like how did these characters get put in a position where they lost their powers and still had to figure out how to make things work? So I love the vulnerability of the characters. So I started writing my own little comic back then. I think I had like a 5-page comic, and was like, and I don't want to tell everybody what that story was about because I'm actually thinking like now the comics that were produced, like, ooh, they would actually like really, really be cool if I brought them up now. So I'm actually working on that now. So I did start those characters in their own little comic back then. So that was something that I took. I wrote a 5-page comic. I tabled it, left it alone. Back in 2011, I decided to go ahead and write my own sci-fi series, and that's where the Star-Crossed Saga came out. And I had, Protostar was the first book. I got it picked up by a small press publisher down here in Atlanta, Georgia. Gave me a lot of love, worked it really well, ended up winning a couple of awards for it. And then she decided that she wasn't going to stay in the publishing game any longer and was going to get out of the business. So she did. And I'm like stuck in here with this series, like, where do I go now? Because I was pretty much done with the second book of the trilogy. And I got with an agent, literary agent, got that shopped around, got it picked up by another publisher, and then we just kind of didn't agree on which way or direction the story was going. So I got the rights back and just said, hey, you know what? Let me just do this on my own. So 2011, 2014, end up doing Cosby Media Productions, our own production small press company. And since then, I've published over 30 authors with 60 different titles and ebooks, audiobooks, and paperbacks. And in 2021, we decided to take it to another level. We were already telling these stories for superhero. We had our own superhero world we were building with 16 novels. We were building our own sci-fi series. And we said, hey, you know what? With the superhero series, me and 5 other authors, we said, what can we do now? What can we do to go next level? And we decided to go comic book route. So in 2021, we created our own comic book imprint, Star Child Comics. And we did a Kickstarter, got it funded for our first 4-issue titles based on the stories that we were already telling. Daniel Payton with his Bark series, he had 3 novels. Now he had the comic book Power Struggle. We had Keyshawn Dodds telling the stories of Menzuo, had 4 books. Now he had War on Earth with the comic book. We had Lawrence St. John. He had already told 4 books from the Metatron series. Now he had Terror at the Track. And then Kyle Champion had already told 2 stories with the Majesties of Canaan. And now he had Tribulation. So I had my series with the Cape series, 2 novels, and brought out the Hellfire, worked with a very talented artist named Bruno Abdias, who's since moved on to do the Cyborg series for DC. So we had these 4 comics, these 16 novels, and we were building. And that was when Star Child Comics was birthed. And since then, we've now put out 12 comic books, and we're just continuing to build on the legacy of what we've had with comics and novels. And we call ourselves a hybrid publisher in that we tell stories in both novels and comics. So you may start a story off in the novel, which is with this young lady here, Kisa, with the Broken series, but you'll move into the second book, which is actually a 24-page comic, and the third book, which is actually a 60-page graphic novel. So we offer audiences an opportunity to kind of change and shift gears with the stories that we're telling, where you won't just stay in novels throughout a whole series or comics, but you'll have a little bit of change of pace. And people have actually really adopted it and have accepted it very well.
Oh, that's great.
Really
That was going to be my next question. Yeah, that was going to be my next question as to how the reaction to that was, and it sounds like it's working out well for you. Is this feedback you get from? Do you do local cons or is it how you get the feedback from that?
Yeah, the big thing is, like, we just came from the Heroes Con. In Charlotte, and man, mad love to the people in Charlotte. Love you guys to death. They really, really, really came out for Star Child Comics. I had people who came back from years ago, like, hey, you know what? I bought the first few books in the Cape series, and I said, okay, well, where are you at now? It's like, man, you know what? I gotta remember. Let me go back. Let me go home and look. And the next day I'll come back. And certainly he did. He came back. He was like, you know what? I don't have the first 2 issues of the comic book. So we gave him the first 2 issues. The Hellfire comic was book 1 with Bruno Abdias. And then we also brought out the second issue that just recently came out, the Fabulous 5. So he picked those up. And then we had people who came back with Star-Crossed. I mean, I hadn't, Star-Crossed Saga is my first trilogy that I completed. And this young lady came back. She said, hey, I read books 1 and 2. I want to pick up book 3. but my blood sugar feels a little low. I'm going to go sit down for a little bit. This was on like a Friday. I was like, okay, go ahead. Come back if you're ready, whatever. She left. She didn't come back Friday, Saturday. She came back. She's like, listen, I need to pick up. I had books 1 and 2 on ebook, but I want to pick up the paperback so you can sign them. So I'm going to pick up books 1, 2, and 3.
Nice.
And the spinoff novel that came out with Still Rain, the bounty hunter who I introduced in book 3, she wanted the novel and the comics. So she bought everything. So, I mean, mad love to everybody who's just enjoying what we're putting together. This empire that we're trying to build with just stories that we feel like people have really just embraced and engage in. And we've got so many authors who have just done amazing stuff. ANVK, which is African Ninja Vampire Killers, our new comic series that people are just gobbled it up in Charlotte by author Kayo Champion. And we're just continuing to just build on what we're initiating, because we really feel like we have some good stories that people will really get behind and be excited about.
Awesome.
That's cool. Like, and so you talk about like how it moves from like the novels to the comic books and stuff like that. So when you're reading the story, do you have to follow that flow, or like could you jump into the comic books and start the comic books, or just do the novels, or is it something like? And then if it's like all flowing through, how is it that you like connect everything? And because obviously you can tell a lot more story in a novel than you can in the comic book. So how the logistics wise?
Right. So I think that's the skill set, right, that you have to develop as a writer. You didn't read book 1. Maybe you didn't look at movie 1. I'm now producing a sequel and I've got it out. How do I get people excited about what I'm doing now? And I think what you have to do is like what I did with like Broken, for example. I had book 1, I had a whole novel. It was well received, got great reviews with readers' favorite, 5 out of 5. Was a finalist for the book awards for Best Book Awards in 2023. You got this entire novel with all of this foundational stuff, and now we've got this 24-page comic. How do I get people excited about that? Well, what you have to do in the writing in the beginning, because I still use 3-act structure as my foundation of storytelling. 3-act structure is proven. It's been around since the days of the Odyssey. People understand how stories are told through 3-act structure. The challenge is, can you as a writer fit that into a comic book? And I say, yes, you can. So I write that, and I give enough breadcrumbs in the beginning of Broken issue 1 of the comic book 2 of the series to say, hey, listen, this is where we are. These characters kind of introduce you to the world. They talk about the things that they're challenged with, what they're faced with. And I have this conversation between Professor Dr. Greg and Kieran, which is Kisa's younger brother, where they're kind of bringing it's just a natural exposition conversation about the world. And, oh, well, this is that, and this is that. And then, oh, what are these people? They're the Ashers, and what are these, the Hoarders? And then, oh, this last 1%, oh, those are alphas. And then Kisa walks in. So I've given you enough of the information in those first couple of pages to kind of bring you up to speed. If you end up clicking on the comic, which what you guys are doing, the graphic novel for Broken, and that's one of our bounty hunter we just introduced to the series. If you talk about that series, I give you a 1-pager, which actually summarizes everything that happened in book 1 and comic issue number 1, which is book 2, so that you're up to speed by the time you get to the graphic novel. Because I feel like that was important, because the graphic novel tackles a lot of things about the character of Kisa and the world because I really put the world of Broken as a third character in the story, so that people can actually understand and dive into the world of Broken and really take a deeper dive to really understand the characters that are in there.
Yeah, no, that's something that I definitely wish comics did more often, was actually have a summary. Back in the time, they used to have summaries at the beginning to tell you what's going on.
Right.
Now it's just kind of like, oh, you just have to know. It's like you can't even go and like, oh, if you want to know, oh, you gotta go read this thing, you gotta go read that thing and stuff like that. It's like, why can't you just give me a paragraph, like you said, or something, just right there? Just let me know.
Mm-hmm. And I thought that was important, just because the graphic novel was a 60-page novel that we really dove into a lot of information about the world of Broken, Kisa. We introduced new character variants of the Ashers. So I wanted to make sure that, hey, before you start reading this is where we are. These are the things that are going on. And that way people can really appreciate those characters much better. And then all of a sudden, as we kind of dive into and peel back the onion on Kisa's character, because she has a lot of mental health issues, now you're prepared because we've kind of given you that setup to kind of get into her as a character. So I feel like it was done well. People who have read the graphic novel have said, man, you know what, that catch up, that one page really caught me up to the story. Now I want to go back, of course, as a person who's selling comics and novels. I want you to go back and pick up the novel and pick up the comic part, issue 1, because you feel like you've lost something. Even though you're caught up, you feel like, man, I want to dig back in. I want to get some information about these characters in this world because I'm already bought into it,
Yeah. And did you, when you were, transitioning from the novel to the comic book, most of the time when you're reading novels, a lot of it's up to your own imagination of like how characters look and how things are. So how was it when you transitioned into comic books and that's like, okay, now we actually have to like really define how they look and how it all looks? And when the feedback that you got, like, did people come up to you and say like, I read the novel and I thought they looked like this, and then I read the comic book and it's like, oh, they're like completely different than what I looked at in what I had in my head?
Yeah, Kyle, I think that's the good thing for me. It actually takes the pressure off because I've written a whole novel, 350 pages, and I've kind of given you what was in my head the entire time. So you're reading it, you're trying to come alongside of what things I've imagined the story to be, the characters to be, what they look like and everything. Other than the cover, you don't get anything else.
Right.
And so when I finally get to the comic, it's like, I'm excited because now it's time to play. I'm going to sketch out these characters, give them to the artist so that the illustrator can go ahead and bring everything into play. And now you can actually see the expression of those ideas in color, and you don't have to think anymore, So Ram Silva is our illustrator who did an amazing job of bringing those characters together. I told him it was a very emotional story. I didn't want to lose that from the novel to the comic. So there's a lot of close-ups. There's a lot of close shots from the shoulders up where you can see these characters really experiencing what's happening in that novel. So it's not just about a lot of fluff and great shots and action sequences, but it's about the emotions of the characters. So Ram did a great job of doing that. And then our colorist, Caballero, did an amazing job, Julio Caballero, of actually coloring, bringing the shades and the shadows and the lighting effects and all that, just to make sure that we didn't lose anything in that expression of the words that I'd already built in the novel, So I feel like we were successful in doing that. So I kept that same team for issues 1 and 2, and there'll be an issue 3, which will be a color book, which is just a little bit of a different thing. But I want to continue to offer different mediums for the way that we tell our stories, so that the readers can always have something new to experience while they're going through the whole world of Broken that we're building now.
Wow, that's interesting. So go ahead, Julius.
Oh, I was going to ask, what was the main inspiration for this story? Like, what was it what were the seeds, I guess? Was it a combination of things of your everyday life, or maybe other works that you've read over the years, or just your love of the genre? What was it that really made you want to write this story, Broken?
Well, first and foremost, I have 3 girls, and I wanted Kisa to represent the personalities of my 3 girls. They're all separated by like maybe 4 to 5 years old. So I've got all the way from 22 to 18 to 12. And so I wanted portions of their persona to be expressed in Kisa's character. And I think I did a good job at doing that. So it was like my dedication, my love letter to my girls in the story that I wrote with Kisa. A 16-year-old girl who all in one moment loses everything. There's no prom. There's no senior graduation.
Right.
There's no anything, senior banquet, all of those things that you have as a 16-year-old going through high school. No boyfriends, no nothing, all taken away from you in the drop of a hat, with this all-out war, all-out nuclear war. So what would that look like? How would that female respond, and how would she express her distrust, her frustration, all those things? I took that from my girls of how I thought they would respond, especially because we went through COVID at the time,
Right.
So that was my love letter to them. And it really just speaks to, no matter what the circumstances you're thrown into, no matter what obstacles are in your way, you can still pick up the pieces every day and try to make something new. So that's what I really tried to express with them in the story. And I did it around something that I think is really cool. Is like a dystopian landscape. Zombies are always a cool story to tell. All-out nuclear war, not really cool, but we understand it. And
especially given
I love
recent events.
Fallout, so I don't know if you guys ever played Fallout. So that was great.
Yeah.
So I just kind of took the things that I really loved and I thought were important and it really spoke to my heart to put into one story to give and share to a lot of readers.
Awesome. Kyle, were you going to ask him something? I'm sorry for interrupting you.
I did, but now I forgot what I was going to say.
Of course you did. Of course you did. Well, that's great, man. Like that. Walk us through your website. What's the ultimate? I guess what's the end goal for Crosby Entertainment? What is it? Is it? Are you going to try to expand to TV and movies, or are you just going to stick with comics and novels for the time being? Like, walk us through that real quick.
Yeah, I think what we always did with Cosby Media Productions, the end goal of the company was to just tell good stories. Our thing is to tell stories that inspire the heart, inspire the soul, and really just kind of tell stories that are different. So every author that we bring on, it's about what is your story? How is it important to you? What do you feel is something that you want to share with the world? And if we find and we connect with that story, then that's what we express. That's what we put out. My goal is every story that we brought out, we really feel that there's an opportunity to take it to the next level, whether it be TV, film, web series, whatever it is, animation. We only see those stories as having opportunities to be that next level thing rather than just a book that's put into print. So with all the story, we feel very confident that they can actually be told in some way. Maybe it's a limited series. Maybe it's just a one shot, whatever it is. We feel like everything that we have published at this time can be a story that stands on its own and does something else. So, I used to do that whole chasing thing, trying to run down producers and all that. Now we're just producing the stories that we really feel comfortable with, that we fall in love with first. I tell my authors all the time, love the story you're telling first, and people will actually follow and they'll come alongside you, and they'll love it too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so we love it when we interview our authors. And if we do, we put them out, we get them the best opportunity, the best formatting, the best editing, and the best cover designs that we can give them so that they can now take that story and share it with the world and be as successful as possible. We just released Daniel Payton's Legacy of Dragon Wand series, book 7 in the series. This is the finale of everything, a book that has been heralded as a triumph. It was reviewed by Kirkus from book 1, and has been given a lot of love and praise for how great it was. And people it's been a bestseller on Amazon, and people have really, really enjoyed that high fantasy series. So we're just so proud of what Daniel Payton has put together with that series. And now we bring it to a culmination in book 7. It's kind of sad, but it's also great because we talk about how much of a triumph that is, that we have gotten to a book 7 of a series as a small press publisher out of Atlanta.
Right.
And we couldn't even be more proud of what Dan has put together.
Now, how is it? Would you recommend other indie creators who are thinking about pursuing this, comic books or otherwise, to go down the same route as you, meaning websites and Amazon and other aftermarket platforms or print on demand platforms? Because I'm assuming that your Amazon store is print on demand.
You're exactly right. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, would you recommend that to any aspiring indie creator going forward? Is to maybe not go for the Diamond Distribution is gone, but the comic shops and what have you, or the cons, but other avenues as well, like a Lulu, for instance. I know Lulu's another print on demand service. Is that something that you would tell a young indie creator that's aspired to do this, to pursue this?
Yeah, I would say that you need to kind of get your feet wet, because this is a slow burn. This is not I put a book out and I'm automatically a bestseller. That doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
You need to kind of get your feet
wet.
You have to get your feet wet. You have to get the practice of marketing, understanding what works and what doesn't. And I think that Amazon gives you an opportunity with Kindle KDP, gives you a great opportunity to kind of put a book out, see how it does, learn how to navigate the marketing behind it, and then say, oh, this doesn't work or this does work, and then get your feet wet. And then if you make a comic, you can still produce it as an ebook as opposed to a floppy. And then when you go to these conventions, like what we do, we go to convention, we touch and we feel and we meet with people who are prospective fans of what we're doing. And then once we're done, we move on and we say, you know what, that really worked, which is why now, like ANVK, I'm telling you, was such an amazing comic. It was so well received with people. You know, me and Kyle Champion are now co-writing that story, which kind of blends and crossovers some of the characters that I've put in other stories where they're going to make an appearance because it was such a huge title.
Nice. So did you find that the comic book had, like, not saying more success, but did you find a bigger audience for the comic books versus the novels? Or did you find, like, what was like when you went from the novels to the comic books, like, did the numbers like drastically spike up or something like that? Or did, because the continuation of the story, people just continue with the story and then that funneled into the comic book?
Yeah, it's an amazing thing because, we go to the convention and I ask people, I say, hey, what do you like to read? And they say, oh, a little bit of everything. I said, oh, well, good. We got a little bit of everything.
Yeah. So that's a great answer.
Nice catch. And then people say, I said, well, do you like comics more or novels? And some people say, well, I haven't read a comic in years. Or I haven't read a novel in years. And then look at the covers and they pick up the novels and they go, I really like this. And I say, well, you know what? This comic has this novel has a comic companion. Or this comic, the story of Steel Rain, the bounty hunter, starts off in a comic. Then the next book is a novel. And they kind of go, and they can't just tear themselves away because at the end of the day, I'm selling the story.
Right.
So if I'm telling you a story, whether it's in comic where you want to get all the visuals, or if it's a novel where you want to get all the background and foundation, you got to make a choice. And more times than not, people are really making the choice to grab both because they're just intrigued with the story. And they know that they're going to get a nice little difference. And it's almost like an anticipation, like, ooh, I'm going to start off with the comic and see all of this stuff. And I'm going to go into this deep foundational story with Steel Rain, or I'm going to read all this background information and foundational story with Broken. And now I get to dive into the comic where we get a little more about the Ashers and the Walking Dead zombies. And then, oh, wow, in the graphic novel, we get even more information about Kisa and things like that. So it just depends. I mean, I don't know which way they look at it, but I know when I throw out the summary and the synopsis of the stories, they're intrigued and they're ready to catch on.
That's cool. It's very interesting because, like you said, you have a little bit of everything. Like if you're a comic book fan and you're obviously a visual, reader, you definitely would probably pick up the comic book. But there's a ton of people that just love lore and they want to learn all of it. And they don't care what medium it's in. Right. And, if you have the novel, it's like, oh, you got it all right there. A big old fat chunk of lore I can go and dive into. So, yeah, it's really interesting that you have like the kind of best of both worlds in that aspect. And then also the graphic novel, like you said.
Yeah, thank you.
Just get more into it.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I never heard or seen that before. So it's like I mentioned earlier, very hopeful and inspiring to see because you don't see that often in comics, and especially in the comic book world. The comic book world is strictly comic books or nothing. That's but the fact that you're bringing a little bit of both, it's intriguing to say the least, because at the end of the day, we still have to read the comic books. Yeah, it's great to look at the pictures, but we still read the bubble, right? Yeah. And we still connect with what the characters say, their narration, their thoughts, whatever the case may be. So that's cool, man. That's really great that you are able to tap into that market.
Thank you. Yeah,
very interesting.
It's been successful. That's all I can tell you is that,
that's great.
like I said, we just came from Heroes Con in Charlotte, North Carolina, and people were just gobbling it up. Like, oh, is this a one shot? I was like, no, AMVK does have a sequel. We're actually working on a storyline now. Me and Kyle Champion. I have one of my and it's funny because I'm writing a story that I can't talk about right now. I'm doing a duology, which is a novel and a comic, and graphic novel, and it has been the most exhilarating experience I've had of writing since 2011. I've been writing since 2011, 20 novels, and now to write a to write a novel and a graphic novel at the same time has been like, whoa,
Yeah, I bet.
I I got a character who's in a secondary character who's in that graphic novel, who is now going to be in ANBK, and it's just blowing my mind. As I spoke to Kyle Champion, we were kind of going over synopsis and the storyline. It's been like, oh, this is going to be amazing. So again, our logo for Star Child Comics is come play in our worlds. We have created these worlds. We want you to come and play, read, experience what we put together, and just have a good time, because that's all we want to do is just tell good stories.
As it should be. As it should be, for sure. Now, since I mentioned Diamond Distribution, I mean, have you been following the bankruptcy news about Diamond?
Yeah, I left all that alone. I was about to go to Diamond, and I was like, oh, let's
oh, it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
A couple of smaller publishers that are actually doing that now, and to be quite honest, I'm kind of looking at them with like, okay, let me see what's going on. And I know a couple of friends of mine who are in this indie biz who are actually publishing through them. So I am at this point kind of a wait and see. Yeah. And so as soon as I see how their experience is, hey man, I'm all with it. I'm gonna get these books out, the comics that we have, these 12 issues. I'd love to get them out with a wider net of distribution, but I do have to see how we're doing to make it make sense.
Gotcha. Have you ever thought of maybe doing a self-distribution, or is that something that's just kind of a bit of a far reach at the moment?
But that's what we're doing right now, right? Like if you come to our website, cosmediaproductions.com, and go.
Oh, right. But I mean, like in comic shops is what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, like relationships. You know, we have a couple of relationships with smaller, with some comic shops down here in Atlanta. So yes, we do have their stuff in there. But as far as like reaching a wider audience, we would love to, and have somebody else do the footwork for us. Of course, we just want to make sure that it makes sense when we do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Wow, that's amazing. Well, I think that's. I don't know if I have anything else. Kyle, do you have anything else?
I mean, no, it's like it's a very fascinating, you know,
it is. It really is.
Dynamic and different like avenues that you're able to like weave your way in and out of comic books and novels and graphic novels and all that stuff. And it's a very interesting world that I think I hope it's going to flourish for you guys.
I love your lanterns behind you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Kyle is a huge Green Lantern fan.
I was too, man. As a kid,
my guy.
I tell you, I've always been a DC head. And that's kind of where I went. And when I got into Marvel, it was all about Secret Wars, and I feel like it just dropped off. Like they didn't really talk about it enough. So I'm excited to see what they do with the films that are coming. But I was always a DC head. Like it was like the lanterns, like all that stuff just seemed so intriguing. A lot more than what I was getting with Marvel, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's pulling something out. I can see it now. What do you got?
I got this sketch, which was a Green Lantern Mandalorian that I.
Oh wow! Nice little hybrid there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much most of the sketches that I get done are, what if this character was a Green Lantern? Pretty much.
You can't go wrong with the Mandalorian anyway.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter
exactly.
what you hybrid him with. So that's great.
Oh, Braxton, I want to ask you, as from one fan to another, what are you reading right now? I know you're busy. You probably don't have much time to read because you're busy writing and running a small business. But if you do have the time, what are you currently reading at the moment?
I'll be honest. I ended up getting the other day I found a fantastic deal on the graphic novel for the Killing Joke. I think that's what it's called. With
okay.
Oh, Alan Moore. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm working my way through that right now, and I'm fascinated. You know.
Oh, it's a great story. It's classic.
And if I go through TV shows right now, I'm finishing up the last season of Invincible.
Oh, okay. I haven't had a chance to watch that, but I'm sure.
Yeah. But the last season has been. Whew, you know how it is.
For sure.
Invincible and like take a step away and be like, let me just take a break.
let me process this.
Yes. So so that's what Invincible is. And so I started the first episode of Ironheart.
Okay.
And I'm intrigued, so I'm gonna continue with that. But I'm such a huge story person. Like I want to know the hero's journey, and I'm so much of a stickler. And I'm really, really picky. So I've got to make sure that the story makes sense. And so far, so good.
So far, so good. Good.
Great.
Yeah, I've been hearing mixed reviews for that, but some people are saying it's great, some people are saying it's not.
Yeah.
But we'll see as the episodes come out.
Yeah.
Of course, it's all about the execution, right? You of all people who should know, it's all about the execution. Yeah. You can have a great idea, but if you don't execute it, it falls.
Doesn't matter. Absolutely.
Yeah. It doesn't matter at all.
Well, thank you so much, guys. If your audience wants to know a little bit more about Cosby Media Productions, they go to Cosby Media Productions with an S.com. Check out our website as you guys pulled it up. You got comics, you got novels. You can go right down the middle and pick up any genre.
I'm gonna share it with the link with the chat. So there you go.
You can just go to any other genre down the middle. We've got young adult, we've got poetry, we've got inspirational, we've got high fiction, we've got high fantasy, we've got regular fantasy, and our latest is Starcross is Legacy of Dragon One Part 7. Feel free to pick it up. Check out our comics on our Star Child Comics tab as well. And I just feel like we've got, if you're a reader and you love story, we've got something for you.
Awesome.
Great.
Awesome. Hold on. Before you go, Braxton, I always ask this question to my guests. What is the one piece of advice you give to any, because you're a writer. I'm a writer. We can't draw. I'm assuming you can't draw either.
I'm a 5 out of 10.
Okay. Okay. That's a fair assessment. But you have to, outsource that. You have to find someone to bring your vision to reality on paper. So what's the one piece of advice you would give any writer that wants to pursue making comics or writing a novel? What is the one advice you would give them?
Fall in love with your story first. If you love your story, there's somebody out there who's going to love it as well. Don't write for somebody else. Just make sure the story that you put out. I have had a thing where out of 20 novels, I say my next story needs to be my next favorite story. And I've been blessed to feel fortunate enough that I actually love my latest and greatest. And so the one that I'm working on right now is becoming my new love. So just make sure that you tell the story that you fall in love with first, and other people will appreciate it as well.
There you go. Great
All
piece of
right.
advice.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So, I love it. You're all business, Braxton. That's a pretty different approach today for today's show. But I like it because that's what's at the end of the day, it boils down to just business, right? At the end of the day. So, so you guys have the website. I put it on the chat. Check out his website. There's a lot of cool stuff in there that I've been looking at.
Thank you.
And again, it's very inspiring to see that, although I know a lot of the time it's a lot of gloom and doom regarding comics, because the industry is kind of hit a lull. But indie's where it's at. Because I was talking to Kyle earlier about this earlier in the week, and we were talking about the consistency and why the American comic book has kind of been not falling by the wayside, but more losing to the manga sales. And that's because I told him it's because manga has consistency with their story. They start it, they push it through, and then they end it. Whereas the American comic book industry, specifically the corporate-owned comic book industry, they have to reset every time because nothing sticks because they can't, because they gotta keep pushing out these characters. They got toys to think about, movies and so on and so forth. So I told Kyle, like, indie is where we have to pick up that mantle and write those stories so that way the fans can finally get that, I'm sure you've read books where you're like, wow, that was amazing. But then a new writer comes along and they just totally retcon everything that they came around. And now it's kind of like, oh, well, then what was the point? Whereas manga, they do their big story finish and it's impactful. And that's the advantage that indie has. So
absolutely.
So we gotta just pick up that mantle and push.
I agree.
So Braxton, if you need to go, thank you for coming on. You're always welcome. So if you ever want to come back again for anything that maybe you're gonna, whenever you get that new project,
our latest release, we'll be back again. Trust me, you guys are gonna fall in love with it for sure.
All right, cool. Then just do you have a Twitter account or is your website?
Yeah, it's all our social media is attached to our website. So when you go to the website, you can see the Twitter, the Instagram, and the Facebook. Okay, yeah, just hit me up on Twitter or Instagram, and we'll keep in touch there. Absolutely. Thank you, guys. All right. Great talking to you. Bye-bye. All right. Bye. Well, that was interesting. Yeah, it was. Fascinating. Yeah.
with
I've
time
never,
to spare. With time
I
to
know
spare.
it's like that's strange for us. We usually go pretty long with these things, but
Yeah, we
you
do. We
know,
do. But since we kind of discussed about the diamond situation, well, I don't think we have time for the diamond situation. I just want to I want to elaborate more on the manga thing and the American comics and how indie should pick up that mantle of it's a golden opportunity for a lot of indie creators, and that is
Yeah.
to create stories where you can follow through and not retcon your own story. You can
right.
pursue and build your own universe, your own storyline, and what have you, and then build that fan base and get them invested in your story. So that way, when you do create that impactful moment in your book, it's going to be memorable for your fans and readers. And I think that's going to be the best foot going forward. And that's the best way we could compete with a Marvel or DC. They can't do what we can do. They can't do something drastic to Batman because it's kind of impossible,
Yeah.
And that's because, like I said, they're corporate owned. The executives may not like the fact that a writer comes along and, well, we can't have Damian leave Batman and become his own thing. That's gonna no. He's got to be Robin forever, as a
Unless he
son.
dies and then comes back and then goes and be something else.
He can't get older. He cannot become a man because how else are we going to write adventures? And with us, we can write stories like that. We can write stories where our characters can grow old and learn from their mistakes, or maybe make the same mistakes and learn the hard way. That kind of deal. So it's a golden opportunity, I think, for indie creators to really do what manga is currently doing now, which is producing these long epic tales that have stakes in them.
Yeah.
And we all love stakes, right? Crenshaw says you can't give Batman a handlebar mustache. Exactly, Crenshaw. But what if I want to give Batman a mustache, a handlebar mustache?
A handlebar mustache.
So, like the Riddler gave me a nice riddle. I got to figure it out.
Yeah, well, he's a detective. That'd be kind of like a Sherlock Holmes type of
situation.
He brings a big old pipe out, and he wears the cap, and he's all like, Watson/Robin. What do you say?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't know, Kyle. What do you think? What do you think of that? The idea
of indie being like,
well, not just indie, but also indie being able to do what manga currently is doing now, which is writing impactful stories for readers who are kind of, I think at the moment, American readers are yearning for that. They're hungry for that kind of thing.
They're yearning for the minds.
Yeah, no, it's because when you look at Invincible, for instance, right?
Yeah, the
show is hitting all cylinders because there's stakes involved in the show. There ain't going to be no retconning in Invincible. It's going to be, the story's going to go forward, and fans of the book know what's coming, so they're ready for it. But the people who have not read the books, they have no idea what's coming. And it's going to be epic for sure.
I haven't read any of the events. I'm just now starting to read the first series, but I've been watching the show first.
Right.
And so actually seeing it play out in the show has actually been pretty cool. But I do think, though, that it's a lot more. You can take a lot more risks with your characters in an indie book versus an established book, unless it's like an alternate universe or whatever. But if it's the mainline story, most of the time they just, like you said, like Batman, he'll go and beat up the bad guy, and maybe something will happen to him. But then by next issue, then it's all resolved and he's back to normal. Yeah. And so I think with manga and stuff like that, they continue the story and they actually have risks with their characters, and I think that's the reason why more people are gravitating towards that. And that's why you see that with Invincible, because there's actually stakes that happen in his stories and stuff. And I think that just kind of brings up like the point of like how superheroes have been portrayed in like the movies and TV shows and all that stuff, because like you look at the Marvel universe, they had all the movies going forward until they got to Endgame, and then they could have continued on, and because most people were growing up at the, and they were getting to that age of like, okay, well, we gotta make the choice. Do we want to go more adult themes or go back to going to, teenager type age demographic and stuff? And they went that way, but everybody else was kind of wanting to propel forward, and that's the reason why you got Invincible and The Boys and all those shows coming out. So it's interesting to see now that they're kind of going back on that, and they're bringing out books like Absolute Batman, that's like a more grittier version of Batman, and Ultimate Spider-Man, which is the adult version of Spider-Man. They're bringing out that stuff now because they're realizing, oh well, maybe we should actually grow up these characters or change some of these characters to get people to start reading them again, basically.
Yeah, that's I don't think it's going to work, because it's almost like The Simpsons, right? Lisa and Bart have remained the same for over 20 years now, and it still works. And I think that was the kind of model that the comic book industry, the American comic book industry at that, banked on for a long time. But I think at this point, the shift has been so large because of manga's influence, that I think the newer readers now who have been reading manga, when they do get either convinced, or maybe they're curious, like you one day were just curious, I want to know more about these characters, and you actually found yourself in the comic shop, and when you got there, you're like, where do I start?
I know.
And manga is like, book one, pick up book one, and then there's
always
one,
book
two, 3, 4, 5, and you're good to go. But here in the American side, it's like, there's the Twilight
so
Saga,
if you want to do,
there's
you do that post or pre-crisis. You gotta know that. It's like, then you want Golden Age, the Silver Age. Like, what character do you want? Okay, well, there's like 5 versions of that character.
Yep.
And then you got to figure out, well, what about the writer that you want? There's that. And it's like,
and it gets for
I like
for someone,
Superman.
Yeah, for someone like me, I don't mind it, but for a new reader, it's like, whoa, what the? I have to buy all these books to like know the lore? Like, that's ridiculous. And that's the unfortunate part about the current state at the moment. And I think that's one of the reasons why Absolute Batman has been doing so well, because it starts at number 1, and new readers can come in and they kind of recognize the characters, because the animated series is now available on streaming services, so the young kids have access to those episodes and they can recognize the characters. But like you, when they go to a shop and go, where's number 1?
Yeah.
Number 1. Well, number 1 was published in 1941, and
that's that's a little bit of an expensive book to have.
Exactly. So, yeah, I think you and I don't know, chat. What do you guys think? Do you guys agree with that sentiment or disagree with that sentiment? Because I see it coming personally. I see it coming, where someone like me will have to start with the book 1 or volume 1, and then work from there, build it from there, and then hopefully continue building to the point where I finish the story. And now I have a library of for instance, Ghetto Dragon or Vigilant Fury, or even Asset 13, which is something I hope to one day build as well, from revolving that one story. But I see it coming, and I think with the success of Absolute Batman, we might see more, hopefully more number 1s that stick, and don't fall into that same trap of, okay, we're in issue 35 now, so let's just revamp it again because
reset.
Because the fans have outgrown it, and now we gotta start over again. I think that's a death knell for comics. Speaking of Batman, since our guest left a little earlier than what we normally are accustomed to, it's time to bring back the segment. What in the world? top of the line production value.
High production value, man. Spared no expense.
You know what, dude? I'm still trying. I gotta like do a dummy stream and like figure out all the controls, like master all the controls I have here because I clicked on it. I clicked on it and it whatever, dude. Kyle, the stage is yours.
All right. So we are back to Is It Worth the Pickup? Somewhat. This week we are going to be continuing our Is It Worth the Pickup segments, as we have alluded to, with Absolute Batman. This one being Absolute Batman number 9 with the controversial Bane Absolute version. When this book was first announced and the picture of this image was posted around Twitter and stuff like that, there was some speculation, controversy-ish about it. They didn't necessarily care too much about how he looked. So much, in fact, that they had the actual creator of Bane himself come out and say, "That's not my Bane."
Yeah.
And everybody threw up their arms and said, "All right, well, he said it, so there it is. You know, that's not going to be Bane. He's too different, I guess."
No,
and
his head was too small. That was one of the main complaints.
That was one of the main things.
Yeah, his head was too small and his body was too big, and that was the main complaint about the design of this character. Forgetting the fact that it's a different universe. Number one,
yeah.
Number two, it's comic books, and so there's no such thing as venom being pumped into your body to grow big to begin with. And as much as I respect the co-creator of Bane, Graham Nolan, he's in the wrong here. And again, all due respect, he's in the total wrong, because as much as he put his lifeblood into helping create this character originally, which became a major staple, now he's a major player in the Batman lore. So kudos to him for co-creating something that's now memorable for I think at this point ages to come.
Well, yeah, he Bane is the one that broke the bat. So
exactly,
exactly.
But then again, remember it got retconned.
Well, but everybody still remembers it.
Yes,
so,
of course,
they did memorable. The movies and everything too.
Memorable.
So.
Yes. So for me, it was like, dude, it's the absolute universe. Of course, it's gonna be different. They made Batman into a bodybuilder,
right?
Of course, like, come on, dude. Like, can we at least attempt to give it a shot? Like, why must we crap on something before we even read it? It's like right now currently with the Superman movie. All the Snyder Bros are just crapping on it, and it's like the movie hasn't even come out yet. Can't you make your judgment when the movie is out and you've seen it, or if you choose to watch it? Because I'm watching it when it comes out. I'm not gonna miss it. I'm ready for it. I'm actually getting a little bit more excited the closer I get to the date of the release. So as much as maybe it's not gonna be totally there, I'm still looking forward to it. And this was one where I saw the image and I went, all right, this here we go. I didn't get too hyped for it. I just went like, I'm gonna wait and see what this story is gonna be about. So go on, Kyle.
I was gonna say that they could have also gone the opposite ironic route and made him a midget or something like that. Imagine that if they gone that route,
dude. Oh my god, people would have been so mad at that one.
Yeah, so then it's like, okay, then what'd you want? Well, he's not gonna be exactly the same, because then that's not an absolute. So then it's gotta be somewhat different, or else you're gonna have the ironic version of being a midget. Like, that's like some of your only options. But
all right, Kyle, go ahead. So
anyway,
let's talk about Batman, Absolute Batman issue 9. A new story starts here. Let's go.
I like that, having that in the corner there. A new story starts here, because it actually gives you like context that, like, oh, okay, if you're brand new, you can pick it up right here, right now.
Exactly. And that's a great thing about this.
So we start off the book in somewhere in this neutral territory of Al-Jabab, I guess is how you pronounce
I
it.
guess Aligab.
Aligab. And
I'm not gonna try.
somewhere in the looks like maybe like Colombia or something like that.
Yeah,
Equivalent. A deal's going on, and then we get an introduction to these characters that are going to be putting up making an acquaintance, I guess you would say. It was a business deal, and we get introduced to the main man himself, Bane, who I really enjoy because he follows kind of similar to what he was in the other books, where he's kind of just like this mercenary that goes to kill people basically. But
right.
that shot of him right there, all like towering over both of them, it's like, and I love the way that Bane. I mean, it is sort of ironic how Bane is like so big and muscular and stuff like that, but always speaks so eloquently and with purpose and stuff, that I do like that ironicness of him more so than they did in the Batman and Robin movie with or was it Batman? Yeah, it was Batman.
Let's not speak of that abomination.
We're speaking about this abomination, but not an abomination. But basically he is telling them about how, oh yeah, this treaty that you're doing, it's a shame that one of you killed the other one, and the countries went back into war instead of doing the peace. Now, which one is it again that killed the other one? And the president's all like, what do you mean? You can't say stuff like that. And the other guy's all like, he did it. I'll do it. And then he's basically Bane's just squeezes his head like a grape and pops it. Like, that was a pretty intense scene right there. And basically Bane just says, hey, you're gonna give a speech later, and it's gonna be difficult for you. You're gonna say what you're gonna be told to say, and everybody's gonna be happy today, with what I told you to say. And he's
a great introduction,
like,
by the way. This was a great introduction. Scott Snyder didn't wait. He went right into it, and I love that creative choice. You just get it through. We all know who he is. There's no need to build him up. We already know what Bane's all about. Let's see him in this version here. So kudos to Snyder and DeGrota as well. Welcome back, DeGrota.
Oh, and that's another thing too that was really great about this is DeGrota is back on the series, which I personally I like a lot more than the previous artist that was in the series. But you get an excellent introduction to Bane right off the bat and exactly know who he is. And then you get the title card, which is Abomination. See, I said Abomination for a reason. Because that's what the title of this series is.
Look at
now,
that, man.
This is this is a pretty almost disgusting looking thing. That's
for sure.
You see that those little white specks there in the middle of that page, that's Bane's eyes. So it gives a clue about where this is gonna be going. And like we said, Scott Snyder's writing it. Nick DeGrota's the artist, and I think Nick DeGrota really shines in this book. Specifically, what really got me was this page right here. This page has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 panels in it.
He broke the golden rule.
That is incredible. That's something that I've never seen before. The only thing that's come close to that was Frank Miller in the Dark Knight series, where he had all the little panels. But this was executed so well that you got not only the wrap up of, you got an introduction to Batman of exactly who he is, if in case to get you caught up.
Right.
It gives you what's he been doing in the time that's been since the first issue, wrapping up all these criminals, basically putting every single criminal behind bars, so much so that the police, ambulances, and everybody are all running out of vehicles, and that they're using Ubers and what is it, like rickshaws to transport people to the emergency rooms and jail cells. And like that just tells you everything you need to know about this version of Batman, all within this one page. It tells you all that within this one page right here, and it does so well. This is what really got me hooked right when I saw it. Now, you said that this was a golden rule that was broken. What was the golden rule?
It wasn't just broken, it was shattered to a million little pieces, because this is when I was learning my craft on writing comics, because it's a different kind of craft than writing novels, for instance. It was kind of like consensus amongst everyone in the how to write comics books, that I bought over the years, and also interviews from editors. And this is a huge no-no to a lot of editors and a lot of writers, and also artists too, because some artists prefer not to draw it this way. However, Nick Dragotta looks like he prefers this because it looks like he's having a great time doing it. And obviously he's channeling a little bit of Frank Miller here for The Dark Knight Returns. Like, this is a pretty obvious. It's just that he did it in his own way, which is border panels. So I would imagine, a friend of the show, Anthony Gambino, the artist for Vigilant Fury, he probably would see this page and be like, yes, yes, because he loves this kind of paneling. He doesn't like the eccentric, sticking out of the panel, the dynamic, the Jack Kirby, Tom McFarlane, Rob Liefeld type of style. He's not really
I don't think that. Literally, that's the with Rob Liefeld and Tom McFarlane is literally like, think outside the box.
Yeah,
literally.
Right. But this
There's
right here,
no boxes here.
But this right here, you're right, is well executed, and it does not drag. It does not drag. And again, maybe not everyone will like it. I know maybe some readers will read this page and go, "What the hell, dude? What is this?" Because they're accustomed to the six to 8 panel page, which is fine. But if you could pull it off, I say do it. I'm not in that school of thought of you must do it this way. It's going back to what our guest earlier said. Do what you feel is right. Love it. Love how you want to present the story. And I think both Snyder and DeGrota, you're right. They hit all cylinders in this issue, especially for this page, because it did a great job bringing up to speed to a new reader who may have picked up this issue.
Exactly. That was about what I was just about to say, was that it doesn't give, the beginning doesn't have a paragraph of a recap of what's been happening.
Right.
This page does, and it all in one. So definitely something that, like, if you're going to, it's great to see this in comic books, especially if you're a new reader and this is your first book that you're picking up. But anyway, so in terms of the story, Batman, he's been literally kicking everybody's butt, and now he wants some help with, I guess, in terms of law enforcement help. And so he reaches out to Barbara Gordon and needs their help with finding out where some of these other people have been hiding, and specifically Arkham, which is an actual person too. His name is Ark M. So she helps him because, like most of all of Batman is like, the cops, help him because they don't want to be on his bad side, for one, but two, he is actually helping them get all the, crime off the streets and stuff. So, she helps him out, getting him the files. And then this is also when we get to another departure from, regular mainline Batman stories, is that Batman actually teams up with his rogues, even though they're not technically rogues as of yet.
At least not yet, right?
Yeah. But right now, yeah, his best friends are his normal rogues gallery of Harvey Dent and the Penguin and the Riddler and the Killer Croc and all of them. They help him be the Batman, which is another great thing where it's like, yeah, you normally know these characters, as staples of Batman. Even if you're not really a Batman fan, you kind of know these characters. So seeing them all work together with Batman is a great breath of fresh air, and something different to look forward to. Basically, they say that they look into it that this Arkham is a prison. They have like a private prison that they've been. Then people have been disappearing. Basically, that whatever is happening, they need to go and find out exactly where it is.
A side note, I love this right here. I love that they're bringing this back here. The reference
I know
to a previous issue, so that way you get the context of what they're talking about.
Basically Batman is trying to find these prisons that are around because he, like you said in a previous issue, there's been rumors of like really shady stuff that has been going on in these places, and he wants to try to obviously help out the people that are there, because if they're just disappearing and being tortured and stuff like that, that's not good. So he's gonna try to find out what's happening to them, and so he's working with all of them, trying to figure out the plans, and they're trying to figure out, because Mr. Freeze was one of the characters in the previous issue, which was referenced, and he was I guess the one that was taken during this, and Batman freaks out because Oswald is drilling him about like, well, maybe we'll just move to Metropolis and forget about all this, and he's like, you guys wanted to be Batman, like if you guys wanted me to be honest with you about being Batman, well, this is Batman. You gotta, be with me 100%, basically. Then we got some more issues of him and Alfred, who is becoming more of like the Alfred that we know, where he's sort of like the loving father type role. This is most of this issue is narrated by Alfred. So, and it seems like most of the series has been as well. So he's definitely one of the major characters, as is in Batman in general. But we get some great shots of Batman underwater, sneaking around, seeing what's up, and him walking him through. It's like a maze, throughout these tunnels and pipes and everything like that. So he's talking to him, and he's basically explaining who Batman is, who this Batman is. He's like, he moves quickly through, through the water. He's there in less than an hour, and he's just like, making bad judgments and stuff like that. And he goes, through these pipelines, and he's like, wait, you're not supposed to be at the pipeline yet. You're still like another 40 or 50 feet away from what it's supposed to be. And he gets there, and it's this whole city. It's the splash page underneath Gotham this whole time. So it's a whole new world.
Don't you dare close your eyes. So he discovers the big secret here. Now we get to see that Arkham is actually a city, not just a prison. Again, to add to what you're saying here, I just love the fact that Scott Snyder is just going all out with this. He's taking things that we recognize, and he's going, I'm going to go essentially bigger. I guess bigger.
Yeah. Anything you see, it's going to be bigger. And I love the fact you see the Batmobile, it's bigger. You see that?
Yeah.
Alfred, he's not just some little, guy that's Batman's servant. No, he's an MI6 agent that knows exactly what he's doing.
And
Bigger,
now we have Arkham being a underground city as opposed to just a building up on top of a hill.
Yeah,
which is pretty fantastic. Now I'm even more intrigued to find out what's going to happen next. You see Batman's chest bigger.
You see the batarang? Well, now it's an axe. Bigger.
Yeah, great splash page, by the way, by Dragotta.
Yeah, a bigger splash page. We want it big.
We want a 2-page splash page, damn it.
So anyway, we see him, actually investigating and stuff like that. But Alfred's trying to warn him, stop, come back. We'll figure out this isn't what we were planning on. Let's regroup and stuff like that. But nah, Batman's all like, yeah, well, I'm a shoot first, ask questions later type of guy. So, I'm just jumping right in. And there we get some more, hints at some other characters that might be coming up, like Deathstroke, who was a former, I guess it is either a former Secret Service SIS guy along with Alfred. So like they're like brothers, which is a cool concept that Alfred cool. And Deathstroke are brothers in this universe. I don't know whether it's metaphorical brothers or like literal brothers, but then we get an interesting of like shot of like pre-workout Bane, and let's see, got a few books signed by DeGrota at Heroes. Nice, that was cool. I'm hoping to meet Mr. DeGrota at San Diego Comic-Con. So
I was at my table. Oh, Unhinged. Jason? Is that who I? Because I always try to guess who you are. So I'm assuming you're Jason. I'm assuming, but I'll still call you Unhinged. But yeah, I hope you did well at the Heroes at the Heroes Con, because apparently it was very successful and very like everyone had a good time when they were there. So. Freddie says, okay, I'm back and our guest is gone. Damn, I really wanted this guest to crap in my dreams too. I don't know who's our guest didn't crap on anyone's dreams. He gave some pretty good advice, and like I mentioned earlier, it's he gave very inspirational, very helpful in terms of what we as indie creators can do after we to grow our company if we decide to go that route. So just watch the replay. You'll get some stuff. But go on, Kyle. Keep going.
Catch us on the replay. Anyway, so
and hit the like button and subscribe.
Yeah, do all that fun stuff. All right, back to the story. So, Batman, he's going through the Arkham, and the comms get jammed, so he's trying to communicate, and he's not getting him. And this is where we get a really cool shot of what I assume to be as Man-Bat, but a skeleton version of Man-Bat.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, Batman's all like, what am I looking at here? It's like, is it anything that I've ever come across before?
Right.
And this is when we finally get the introduction between Batman and Bane. And this is great. I love this interaction because, Bane just goes and says, hey, how are you?
Yeah, I know. Hello. And boom.
And then just kicks him into the wall. And then I love that he toys with him. He's all like, it's like, oh, you got those things? All right, go ahead. Just use them. And so then Batman goes and throws his little stake things that he does. And Bane's all like, okay, now you can attack. It's like, I'm waiting. And, Batman, as we've seen, it's been established, like Batman's punches like break bones, and like
right.
He's definitely very powerful. He's basically the equivalent of what Bane is in like the main universe to an extent. And I love that Bane's just all like taunting him throughout the whole
Yeah.
thing. It's like, oh, Mai Tai, good form, and then pressure points nerves him there. And he's all like, it's okay, you got another arm.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I know. You got to do oh, it's all right. Focus.
It's
You
okay.
have another arm.
It's funny because, ever since that, like when you read Bane beforehand, before watching the movie, when you imagine Bane's voice, did you imagine it the way that is? Because now that because I watched the movie first with, the Christopher Nolan ones.
No,
That's the voice that's in my head every time I read Bane.
No, the voice in my head was supposed to be in South American accent, and the animated series did have kind of a South American accent. Hey, K-pop junkie, good to have you. But as much as a lot of the Batman fans didn't like Tom Hardy's voice, I still love it. It still works for me. I do. Like, oh, you'll think darkness is your ally. So, I dug it. I still dig it. I'm a huge Christopher Nolan fan. Even though Ray doesn't know what he's talking about, but Ray, if you're still on here, much love to you. Much love to you. Yes, I still hear the Batman animated voice when I read him. Yeah, same here, Ben. I grew up with the animated series, so I hear the South American accent, and I prefer that Bane. But again, it's a movie. Hopefully, one day they do get him right in the movie, because I would love to see him be that South American. Grew up in the prison. Badass. I mean, we got that in The Dark Knight Returns, but he was kind of I don't know, it was white European, not South American. I would prefer South American personally, but
what about like somebody like Antonio Banderas voicing
doing the voice? Yeah, that'd be cool. Or some other actor, some other actor that could do it just go on, keep going.
But basically, like this whole series, the events that's happening right here also reminds me of like Monty Python and the Holy Grail, where he's just like, oh, it's just but to scratch, and he keeps on, going with the other arm, and then he cuts off that one, and it's like, oh, I'll kick you, and it's all like, what are you gonna do, bleed on me? And it's basically like here is Bane's all like, oh, you still got your legs, why don't you try those? And it's like, oh,
and then he just gets them right here.
Just like one thing after another, and Batman's just all like, it's like, I could do this all day, like type of thing. And he's like, if I wouldn't, he's like, I would be beating you if you weren't so juiced up. And
this right here, this was like perfect. I was like, because when I saw this panel, I was like, oh no.
Yeah. He's all like,
even I was like, he's not juiced up.
yeah. This is regular form.
I was like, oh no, what are we gonna see? And then, oh man, this was pretty glorious, I have to admit. If you have not read this issue, or if you have not been reading Absolute Batman, please read it. It's really like one of the best books out there right now, next to Ninja Turtles with Jason Aaron and Jason Ferreira. Like, Absolute Batman has been impressing me more and more the more I read it. And I told Kyle that I was going to cut back on spending on comics for I have my reasons, but I told him this
adds
book,
up.
This is it adds up, but this book here is like, I think I might have to keep reading this, because I just want to know what's going to happen next. But
I love that facial expression of Batman, just like kind of like defeated, like, or not really defeated, but like, what am I looking at? And like this, it's like, what are you? And this is when we get the splash page, the money shot. Yeah,
look at that.
Just
look at that, dude.
My goodness,
bro. When I got to this page, I was like, whoa, I was not expecting that.
This is the Bane that like sweats protein powder. It's like he's like he has steroids with his milk, it's like
you think weightlifting is your ally.
Yeah. I merely eat the weights.
Yeah. Dude. What a great splash, man. Look at that. I had to zoom it out because,
you want to get the full effect. but it's like,
I mean, look at that, dude. He's a monster.
and just throughout the whole series, we've seen Batman always be the big imposing person.
Yeah, dude. And look at
and
that.
he's always been fighting sort of people that are,
Mhm.
of smaller stature to him. And now we're facing where it's like literally a giant he's going up against.
Yeah, good choice, Crenshaw, because it really is worth it for sure. Ben, you merely visit the gym. I was born the gym, bro. Good one, Ben. I like that.
That was good. I was born in the gym.
I have to read it. Oh, K-pop. Oh gosh, I hope we didn't ruin it for you, K-pop. We just kind of gave away the
Yeah.
ending there. Sorry if
Still,
we spoiled it for you, but yeah, if
there's
you have
still
not been
parts.
if you have not picked up this book, K-pop, you gotta really check it out.
There's still parts too that I skipped in this section because it, like, not saying it didn't flow or anything like that, but there, like, again, there was still like I want to say 2 sections in this series, in this issue, that were mainly just more about character development for some other characters that I kind of wanted, when we do this review, just focus on Batman. So there's still other stuff in this issue that you can read and that haven't been spoiled yet.
Okay, there you go.
So yeah, it's this again. So yeah, this is the end of the issue, but my goodness,
Yeah,
was this a
solid,
fantastic issue.
solid
This
for sure.
I say that this is probably my favorite issue in this series so far. It literally, nothing in this issue was wrong for me. Everything was great. And I think that's just a testament to, now we're seeing Scott Snyder and Nick DeGrota really hit their stride in what they want to do.
Yeah,
And especially
agreed.
with Nick DeGrota experimenting with a lot more of how he wants things to look and how he wants the panels laid out and stuff like that. I think it just all worked beautifully in this issue.
Great.
So,
Yeah,
from your perspective, what did you think?
Oh yeah, solid issue from beginning to end. It's been a while, a long while. In terms of DC Comics, because right now the Ninja Turtles book is the current book that I'm really excited about when I read it, and also after I read it, I'm like, oh, I just wish I could read more. I have to wait a month, for the next issue. But in terms of the DC Comics or DC or Marvel, yeah, absolute Batman, it is top tier. It's a top tier story, and I think if you held off on it because maybe it's not your Batman, maybe you're not interested in it, I think you should, with all due respect, get over it and read this, because it really is top form from Scott Snyder and Nick DeGrota. And as much as you may not liked Marcos Martin little run that he did with the Mr. Freeze, I still enjoyed it because I'm still a fan. I'm a personal fan of Marcos Martin's work, so I was happy to see him in the Batman book. But yeah, I think I hope that Nick DeGrota can keep on going as much as he can with this, because it's hitting all cylinders now. I'm really excited for the next issue to see what happens next.
I know that's the only thing that's worrying me, is that we're getting to that. It's like, it's great, everything's going really good. You have a great artist, great writer, and then another couple issues down the line, okay, we're gonna change everything now.
I hope not.
I don't want that to happen. Can we get a running series? Like, this is something that's actually like really good and like sells. It seems, because the first issue is on its like 7th printing, I think now.
I think so,
like,
yeah. So it's doing really well for sure.
Everybody's talking about it, and it's like, the future is now, old man. This is the new Batman.
Exactly, yeah. Oh man, yeah, it's solid issue from beginning to end. And this is only like, let's see, we've had Black Mask, then we had Who
We
was
had
the
a,
other one? Mr. Freeze.
Mr. Freeze. He
And
was
now
the
we have
villain.
Bane, and we haven't even gotten Joker yet.
We had a tease of Joker. We
Yeah,
had
a
a
tease
tease
of
of
him.
another character that we don't know. There has been now a picture floating around of Killer Croc.
Oh, right.
Um, we got glimpses of what Riddler is gonna be, and that's about it. So like we're slowly building out the rogues gallery.
Yeah, and agreed. Unhinged, Mister. I didn't like Mister Freeze's look at first. You know, when I saw the cover for, I think it was issue 7 or issue 6,
It was issue 7.
which is the cover
It would
with
have been
him
issue
kind of hunched over, kind of looks like a cryptid a little bit.
8. I think it was issue 8, the one right before this.
Okay, yeah. So I wasn't a fan, but then when I read the issue, I was like, whoa, this is actually good. Like, wow, I actually like this. I actually like the origin story they gave this. And again, it goes, once again, it's a testament to Scott Snyder's ability to convince me every time. Every time I'm like, oh, and then when I read it, I'm like, whoa, okay, this is working for me. And this right here works for me. This Bane and Batman, because look at this, man. This is crazy. But yeah, solid issue through and through. It never drags. It continues the story on. You know, Batman has a motive, and we get to see a little bit of his hubris, a little bit of his shortcomings. The fact that, you know, he doesn't listen to Alfred. Hey, man, come back! Like, we found it. Let's come back. Let's regroup. And Batman's like, nah, I'm a big guy. I could do this. And
I've been killing it so far. That's another. Yeah, that's like I've been doing everything right so far. Everybody's been losing to me. You know, I can take on anything. And then this is when he comes across this guy.
Agreed, Ben. The over-exaggerated look. This is comics right here, exactly. And that's what that's my biggest gripe with modern comics. Is a lot of artists today, they want to draw realistic, and it just doesn't work. It's gotta, like, dude, bring your flavor, man. Like, I believe, Hinch here mentioned Sam Keith. You know, Sam Keith has his own cool, unique look of Batman, and it worked. You know, even though it was way different from what other people were doing, it still worked because it was unique, it was fresh, it was different. And I like the fact that Nick DeGrota here just goes, yeah, you know what, let's go all in, let's do it, let's not hold back. And it's paying off. It really is paying off. And I hope that the editors of DC as well as Marvel, I hope they're paying attention to this. I hope they're paying attention to, like, this is what people want to read. Yes. We want not crazy over exaggeration, but it's comic books. It's what makes it different from movies and TV. Movies and TV need actors. So obviously no one's going to be cast as Bane. That's absolute
Well,
Bane.
yeah.
You know what I mean? This Bane will have to be CGI. But this is what makes comic books different, is that you don't need CGI. You can just have a great artist draw a cool looking character, and here it is right here. You know?
Yeah.
So Unhinged says, everyone's trying to be David Finch. I like Finch, but there's horror. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Unhinged. It's one of those things where I get it. He's an influence, but get your own flavor. Do your own flavor. You know, find your own style. And I like the fact that Nick DeGrota, at first I was kind of, Nick DeGrota, interesting, okay. But then as I read more, I was like, okay, yeah, he's the perfect choice for this. This is like perfect for this story. So
and this issue really stood out to me. Like, before in the other issues, I really enjoyed it, but like specifically this issue is when it's like, oh, okay, it all clicked. It all worked together, you know, and it's, to me, yeah, like I said, definitely something that you should be picking up. So is that something that,
it is worth, so it's worth the pickup then? Yes,
it is definitely worth the pickup.
Awesome.
Absolute
so there you have
Batman
it,
number 9.
Absolute Batman number 9. If you missed the first 8 issues, you know, because you just whatever, then pick this one up, because it is a new story. And, you know, as we pointed out in that one page with 19 panels, it gives you a nice creative way to bring you up to speed, which I thought was pretty brilliant. Honestly, I think that I prefer that than a summary. Even though summaries are good because obviously those are helpful for your readers, but if you could do it that way, hell, do it. That works. It works for me. So yeah, there you have it. Absolute Bam number 9, worth the pickup. Check it out. Hopefully your shop still have copies of this issue. I wouldn't doubt it. They sold out already, and the second printing will come.
Yeah.
To your shops, and if that's the case, pick it up. Check it out.
Definitely
Start right here.
pick it up.
So, yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
I'll have to say about it.
Yeah, it's something to look forward to. At least it's definitely raised up on my level of like, oh, I have to read this as soon as it comes out. Like it was getting up there, but then now that with this issue, it's like, okay, now I have to read it. Like I need to go and read it.
And that's what we want for most comic books. We want everyone. I at least want to feel the need to pick up the next issue. That's what makes comic books great, is when you get people to like, come on, give me that fix, man. I need my fix. I need to go. I need or what the retailers call what do they call them? Oh gosh, I forgot the term. It's when you buy the book and you read it in your car.
Oh, I don't know.
There was a term. Chat, if you guys know the term, please enlighten us with that. I know the term is like I don't want to say parking lot books, but it's like a thing that retailers have where the readers will buy the book and then end up reading it in their car because they're just so excited to read it. They can't wait to get home to read it. So,
yeah.
Like, Freddie, of course. Of course, Freddie. At least one Snyder can write a good Batman.
Well, there's got to be at least one,
Yeah,
so,
at least one, right? Well, that sums up our show. Thank you for Braxton, Mr. Braxton, for coming on the show and enlightening us with other avenues that indie creators can take on if you want to grow your business and as a comic book creator. The Comic-Con conventions, local, big and small, and of course the print on demand services the Amazon offers. Yeah, that's big too. Don't hesitate on that. Yep. And also Absolute Batman number 9, worth the pickup.
Yep. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We love to have you here. We love talking with you as always. We love talking in the chat. Feel free to talk to us. That's what we're here for. We're here to have a good time. Just chat about comics, pop culture, anything you want. And if you want to come on the show, come on the show. We'd love to have you and talk one-on-one with you. Talk about your book that's coming out. Talk about, anything that you want to talk about. We're here. We're having a good time. And as I always say, every interaction's a new experience. And remember to build those experiences. Yeah,
another thing I want to also remind everyone here, and also for people who may watch the replay who are new to the show, no topic is taboo here. We will talk about it, and we will talk about it in a mature and intellectual way, if possible. If possible. But yeah,
best of our abilities.
Yeah, we're not afraid to talk about any kind of discussion or topic because I think that's what's important. We need dialogue, especially now more than ever. Because that's how we grow. That's how we grow, and that's how we cultivate the culture. Is if we have a person who totally diametrically is opposed to maybe what I may think is right and true, at least the dialogue is not a debate, right? A debate is all about winning and losing. Who wins and who loses. But a dialogue is when you share all your thoughts, all your ideas, you present them to each other, and there might be some, a little bit of friction, when you do dialogue. However, at the end of the day, it's all about learning from each other and gaining a new perspective, and that way both parties gain something at the end. And you may at the end, even if you agree to disagree at the end, at least you can leave with saying, I never thought of it that way. Actually, now you bring up a good point. And you don't have to be friends after either. It's just a matter of, again, having a dialogue and growing from that. So check us out every Friday if possible. I know we're not always on every Friday because some things happen, real life happens. Like for instance, next Friday it's 4th of July. Happy 4th of July, early 4th of July for those out there. God bless America.
We probably won't have a show that night though.
No, we're not gonna have a show. We're not gonna have a show. No. We're not gonna have the show that night because obviously it's a holiday and I like to celebrate the Day of Freedom as much as maybe America's not the most popular country in the world right now.
Yeah, well,
real quick, my parents immigrated here. They came here for a better life and for themselves and also for their children. And I'm grateful that they did. And I'm also grateful to be part of a country like the United States, as imperfect as it is, because I also recognize that it is imperfect. But the country itself, what it represents, I'm all about it. And that's all. That's probably the most political I'll get there. With that is that I do love the country I live in. I grew up here. I was born and raised here. I told my dad a couple weeks back when I spoke to him on the phone, I said, "Hey, look, I was raised by the schools, by the TV, by the culture. What do you expect from me? What do you want from me, Dad?" Like I love you, and I love the fact that you came from Mexico and that you were born and raised there, and I totally get it. But I wasn't raised there. I was raised here, so this is my home. So happy 4th of July to all my fellow Americans out there, and stay safe. And once again, like Kyle says, like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one, July 11th. Let me announce it right now. Benjamin Soto will be on the show. We're going to launch his book, Cephas #1. It's going to go live. It's going to be a streaming party. So he's going to be on the show. We're going to have a good time. We're going to come up with some cool ideas to have a good time when we launch the show. America's so great. The people who hate it won't leave. But yeah, exactly. K-pop junkie party. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. So July 11th, catch us on that show. Ben will be here. We're gonna have a good time. Hopefully we can get more guests on, but we'll see. Yeah. But we'll definitely have that show and launch it. Yeah, we'll have the launch party for him. So check out that show.
All right. And, as always, read more comics.
Have a great weekend, guys. Stay safe out there. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Bye, guys.
On November 27th, 1997, citizens from a small Midwestern town called Carpenter's Bay were shocked to discover that one of their own brutally massacred his family, as well as ending his own life on Thanksgiving Day. Dubbed the Thanksgiving Day Massacre, this horrendous crime would forever tarnish the good name of this peaceful town. However, underneath this story lies a dark secret. A secret involving a government cover-up to hide the real story of what happened that fateful day. As the old saying goes, truth is stranger than fiction. Asset 13, The Last Thanksgiving, written by Julius Freeman, art by Greg Warrenchak, available on Global Comics. Evil has a new holiday.